All right, good morning, everybody. It's right at 10 o'clock, so out of respect for everybody's time, we're going to get started. What we're doing today is zoning basics. So if you were fresh out of pre-licensing recently, you're going to hear a lot of the same stuff. But I feel like we need to go over the basics because I get some of the basic questions a lot. So if y'all have questions, just unmute yourself and ask. I'm not monitoring the chat or I can't see you raise your hand. So I'm on the planning and zoning board for the city of Kannapolis. I've been there for 9 years now and 3 years as the chairman. I still have a lot of questions for zoning because zoning is not very cut and dry. And the bad part about it for us as realtors is no one municipality is the same. So Kannapolis, I know pretty well. When you go to Concord or you go to Harrisburg or you go to Salisbury or Landis or Rowan County, it's literally like going to another country and speaking another language, because they're all different. So we're going to go through some of the basics just so you know some of the rules and how they're applied, some of the terminology, and then we'll dig into a little bit of how to actually find the information you need. So if y'all have any questions, as I said during this, let me know. Just unmute and ask. Why is this not working? Here we go. So our objectives today are to understand what zoning is and how it's applicable to residential and commercial clients. A lot of times we will get clients that want to buy land, buy a building, and put a business in it. And it's not that simple. The general public needs to know that it's not that simple. There's a lot of hoops you got to jump through. And that's some of the things we're going to be talking about today. Couple of things we're going to go over. What is zoning? How do I find it? That's hard. Quite honestly, it takes a lot of work to figure it out. And then what does it mean for my client? Just to give you an introduction, this is how I teach it in pre-licensing, but an introduction to land use controls or zoning. This is the Equitable building in New York City. In 1916, it was constructed. And as you can imagine, it was one of the taller buildings, and the little old building there to the left of it is an apartment building, and those folks were not very happy. So this is where zoning started. They said, hey, we bought this, or we bought in this apartment building to have a view, and now our view is of an office building. And we don't want it. So you can thank your folks in New York City for starting this out over 100 years ago.
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
The slides aren't coming through. I have the initial zoning, what you need to know on my screen. Just a heads up.
Did you see any of them at all?
I can see them on the side to my left. So I'm seeing the Equitable building, but it's a small little number 4 slide. All I see is the yellow one up front for some reason.
Anybody else having that trouble? Same trouble?
I'm having that as well.
Me too.
Yes, just see the first slide.
All right.
I can't see it coming up behind you though. So it is
No,
working like that.
That'll give you a headache. All right, hold on. Let's try to share something else here. Did that work?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Yay.
Yes.
All right, that is the limits to my technology experience. So Josh, you just tapped me out for the day. I'm
I
done.
apologize.
All right. So one thing to remember, we talk, and I'm going to make your heads hurt here, but we talked about a bundle of legal rights, right, when you buy a property. One of those is the right of control, and you can control what you do on the property and its profits within the framework of the law. So it's not a point, it's not a carte blanche to do what you want. As I tell my students, you still can't grow pot on your land in North Carolina, right? So there are laws and rules for what you can do with your land. And that's where zoning comes in. Police power, this is something that usually gets a lot of people's attention because a lot of people don't like the term police power, but what the definition of police power is: the authority to create and adopt regulations to protect the public health, safety, and general welfare. So in theory, what the elected officials are doing is they are adopting rules and regulations that keep us safe, keep us healthy, and promote the general welfare. So let's use that in the framework of this topic. A lot of people get irritated about zoning, but there's reasons for that. A lot of people don't want to live in the city because they don't want to be told what to do. A lot of people don't want to live in developments because nobody's going to tell me where I can park my car, or nobody's going to tell me where I can put a flag. Okay, so that's kind of the topic we've got here, and understanding the basics of why it's done will help you with your clients. Talk them through those things. All right, we're going to jump right in feet first here. A master plan. One of the things that municipalities are starting to do now, when I say municipalities, it's cities or counties or towns. They're starting to build a master plan for their next 15, 20, 30 years. And what that does is it regulates land use for the next 20, 30 years. And one of the reasons they do that is to better utilize the land they have available. They want to, be able to set aside land for schools and libraries and public parks, but they also want to better utilize the land that they have for industry, for retail, for hospitals and things of that nature. So now they are starting to plan ahead to have a better vision of what their city's going to be, or their town, or their county's going to be. I always give the example of Mooresville. If you've ever been through Mooresville, if we got anybody here from our Mooresville office, it's an absolute cluster. They did not have a vision in the early 80s or 1980, I believe, is when they flooded the Lake Norman. So it just grew up and blew up, and now it's a cluster. And it's tough to drive, tough to get around. That's what happens when you have growth and no plan for it. So what the folks around here are trying to do is have a plan for it. Any questions so far? The one thing is realtors or brokers that you need to know what municipalities master plans are. What's the land around where your client's looking to buy? What's it going to be? What is, if you buy a house on South Main Street in Kannapolis headed towards Concord, what's the future of that area? That's something you need to tell your clients, right? Because I can tell you this, if it's in a master plan, it is material fact. So if your client buys a house and the master plan for that area is industrial, and then next year they start building some kind of industrial plant, you think you're going to have an angry client? You think you're going to have somebody that may call you back and be like, what the heck, dude? If that's the nice term to put it, nice way to put it. So these things are all public knowledge. They're published, they are material facts as far as realtors go. Master plans control land use, standards of density, how many houses per acre you can put in, economic development. If Amazon comes in and wants to build a warehouse, where's the city going to guide them to? Those are questions the cities ask. Public facilities, libraries, schools, things of that nature. Civic centers, utilities, how are they going to get power and water where they want to go? Those are all things that master plans do. If you've ever looked at a public works map for the city of Kannapolis and where the not plumbing, but the water and sewer goes, where it stops, you will understand why there's a need for a master plan. Master plans also help with circulation, where the road's going to go. Where do we need to apply for state funding to widen roads? Where do we need overpasses? Where do we need improved intersections on I-85, those things. A couple things to remember about zoning. Zoning is always local in nature. There are no statewide zoning ordinances. So unfortunately, as we talked about earlier, every municipality is different. Couple things about zoning. It does regulate land use, what type of structure, what kind of business can go there, and they cannot be static, which means they change, or they can be changed. All right, any questions before we get into what zoning regulates?
What did you mean by cannot be stacked exactly?
When I say cannot be static, I mean it can't stay. If my house is zoned, and that's probably a bad example, if a parcel of land is zoned OI, which is office industrial in Kannapolis, it can't stay OI forever. Right, so if the master plan changes, then they can rezone it. If somebody comes in with a better option, they can rezone it. Somebody came in, all of Lane Street at one time was zoned OI, office industrial. Well, somebody came in and dropped a Dollar General down there. That is not the definition of office industrial. So that's what I mean. It can't stay the same. You got to be able to change it. Any other questions? All right, so zoning not only regulates what can be built on a property, what the property can be used for, it can regulate the types of structures and the heights of structures. Our zoning ordinances in Kannapolis had to be changed when the Vita building near our office was being built, because at the time, our regulations only allowed buildings to be 36 feet in height. So we had to change our regulations. Types of structures, let me go back real quick. Types of structures, one of the things it does regulate, and I'll show you an example later on, is in certain areas, it regulates the way your building looks. If you go down Kannapolis Parkway from Highway 3 all the way down to I-85, that entire area is regulated by what we call an overlay district. So your building, if you're going to plan to build something out that way, it's got to look a certain way per city ordinances. It also regulates setbacks. So if you buy an acre of land or a half acre of land, you can't build on that entire acre of land or half acre of land. You got to be so far from your neighbor on the left, on the right, and from the road and from the back of the lot. And that is for fire safety. Zoning also regulates styles, which we talked about, how dense you can build something, how many houses per acre. And then they also are starting to get a lot of protection for natural resources. You'll hear us talk about critical watersheds. Those are strictly regulated. Another thing that it, just to kind of give you an idea, an ETJ, you may hear that terminology, an extraterritorial jurisdiction. That is an area outside the corporate limits of the city or the town that the city or town still regulates, subject to zoning restrictions. I'm gonna give you an idea here of what I'm talking about. So this is a map of Kannapolis in the dark gray. And if you look at the red circle, it shows you some of our ETJs, which are out towards Highway 73 and Poplar Tent Road. If you see where my arrow is pointing, it's a Harris Teeter Shopping Center, if you know where that's at. That is in the city of Kannapolis. This gray blob right here, I believe, is Christ the King Catholic School. That is in the city of Kannapolis. So those are all ETJs. That means we control, or the city controls how, what they can do on their land. Any questions about that? All righty. Two terms I want to tell you about: legal non-conforming use. Does anybody remember what that is from pre-license? Basically somebody that's, we call it grandfathered in. One of the examples I give around Kannapolis is, growing up, we used to have a bunch of little neighborhood gas stations right in the middle of houses. And of course, when the city incorporated in 1983, they had zoning laws, and they applied those laws. Well, those little gas stations were no longer conforming, meaning their use was, as the rules apply, illegal. However, they were there before the rules weren't applied, so they can stay there. The thing is, they can't improve their buildings. Once they sell their buildings, then they have to change the use. You can no longer use it for a gas station. And they can't improve them or enlarge them at all. The other one is illegal non-conforming use, which means it violates law at the time it was put in place. And you can be taken to court for an illegal non-conforming use. So if you have somebody that wants to buy land and they want to put a construction company on it, that means they've got to put dump trucks or cranes or bulldozers or skid steers on them. They better get the zoning approved, because if it's not approved and one of the code enforcement rides by and sees it, they are going to file, probably go through the city first, and then they'll file an injunction against them. Couple of variations here. Depending on which municipality you're in, you're going to deal with different boards. Kannapolis has a separate board of adjustment. Those are folks that are here to hear complaints or issues with specific parcels. They actually give out conditional use permits, which is allowed, not allowed in current zoning. I'm going to give you an example of that. And then they do variances, and I'm going to give you an example of that. So a conditional use permit is, who can tell me what that is? What's that building? What are they doing there?
It's an event,
What's that, Alicia?
like an event center, a
Yes.
wedding.
Exactly. There you go. That's what I was looking for. A wedding venue. Those started popping up, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, and Kannapolis did not have that in their zoning code. So whoever applied for one had to go to the Board of Adjustments and ask for a conditional use permit. Same thing happened with the brewery downtown. Well, Kannapolis never had a brewery in their zoning code, so they had to go to Board of Adjustments and ask for a conditional use permit. So the example of a variance is when usually on a lot of times it deals with setbacks or lot sizes. This is one that I flipped several years ago on Jackson Street behind the Burger King, Kannapolis. And you see the 902 Jackson and 904 Jackson. Well, when we bought that parcel, or we were under contract to buy that parcel, it was on one parcel. So they had two houses on one parcel. So that was unique. But they were built in 1940. Back in 1940, nobody cared, right? So for us to optimize the money we made on them, we had to get them split. So we got a surveyor to draw this little line right here. This one little line cost us about $1,500. And we had to get it approved through the city because the lot sizes, when they split them, were not compliant to what the city requires on the lot. And because it was an issue that we did not create, that was already existing, the city went ahead and approved it for us. Any questions on variances or conditional use permits? If your client is looking to build a house and they build it too far into the setback, they're going to have to get a variance and ask for forgiveness. Or the best thing to do is to get a variance and then build. As you can imagine, municipalities don't look too well on having to go back and change and correct something. Any questions so far? All righty. A couple different things here I'll talk about real quick, and then we're going to get into the looking at the county sites. An overlay district, one I already told you about. You go down Kannapolis Parkway, there's an overlay district. So each of those pieces of land parcels are zoned, whatever it is, business or industrial or residential or something. But then they're overlaid with another zoning type, which means various different things. And I'll show you an example of an overlay district here in a minute. Historic preservation zoning, if you're in Salisbury, Margie, I saw you pop on. You should be very, very familiar with historic preservation. If you're going to sell in that area, you better be very, very familiar with historic preservation zoning. That is considered an overlay district. Aesthetic zoning is the example I gave you on Highway 3, not Highway 3, Kannapolis Parkway. They can tell you how your buildings look. They have to look a certain way. Meaning, are they brick? Are they certain distance off the road? Those kind of things. Here's an example. I hope you can see it. This little black dotted line right here, as my mouse is trying to go down it, that is an overlay district in Kannapolis. That is the airport overlay. Meaning they restrict heights of structures within that area. So that's airport overlay. That means there's a path for an airplane to go to Concord Airport. Guess who lives in the airport overlay? Yeah, guess who hears something about 9:30 every night flying over my house? Me and Melissa are both raising our hand. Yeah, the ones that sound like they're going to land in your backyard. Yeah, that's us. Those are different kinds of overlay districts. You'll notice over to the left on this, it shows different types of mobile home districts, thoroughfare protection districts, different types. So One, I'm just gonna go through real quick. Spot zoning is one that is prohibited. It's being an area that is rezoned for something that's not comparative to what's around it. One of the big ones we see around here is Dollar General. Dollar General went into, oh man, right outside of Yates Meadows and Concord and caused a big kerfuffle. I'll just say it very nicely. That got on ABC or WSOC TV. That was fun, and they claimed that it was spot zoning because there's nothing like it around. And you think about it, if you know where that area is, there's not any kind of retail establishment within a couple miles of there. So they had a point, but somehow money won out, I'm guessing. But there's a Dollar General there today. I'm going to skip over that one and go to broker's duties. You got to recognize the situation. If your person is just looking to buy a house and live in a house, typically there's no problem, right? Typically there's no problem. Now, I did get a call yesterday. Somebody was buying a house in a that was currently zoned commercial. Now I'm speaking specifically for Kannapolis. In Kannapolis, you can have a residential dwelling in commercial as long as it's occupied. If it's been unoccupied for 6 months, then it has to be for commercial use after that. Never, ever, 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 ever make assumptions in this business. Always get the facts. I always tell my clients to verify with the municipality. If it's in Kannapolis, I know who to talk to. I can do it. And the last thing is get it in writing. My dealing with the local zoning and planning and zoning boards is they're all super, super helpful and more than willing to give you an answer. And I always like it in an email form because I can refer back to an email. Any questions on what we went over so far? And you guys don't talk much. What's up with that? I know you all, you talk more than that. All right. So the next question is, how in the world do I find the information? How in the world do I find it? Unfortunately, and I'm going to stop sharing real quick. Unfortunately, each municipality has their own software that they use. So you've got to learn a bunch of different types of software, types of programs to use, how to navigate different websites. Has anybody ever used Charlotte or Mecklenburg County's GIS system?
Yes, I have.
So it's called Polaris 3G, right, Nikki?
Yeah.
If you've ever used it, I don't know about you, but I think it's the easiest one in the world to navigate.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
It's super cool. And they've got a ton of information on there. So what I tell people to do is Google it. Google Rowan County GIS, Google Mecklenburg County GIS, figure out what GIS site you want to look at. And then, and I'm going to pull it up real quick for you, and we will. So all I did is type in Polaris 3G, and that's Mecklenburg County's website. Has anybody got an address we could look up? Or I'll just pick one randomly. All right, we're going to look at this lot right here. And all I did is clicked on the lot. There's a picture of it. That's fantastic. you scroll down, it gives you the land area, all kinds of information. It should have zoning on here too. I thought it had it on there. So this one that we clicked on is R5, I believe. Yeah, it's R5. Now, what in the world does R5 mean? Well, guess what? They got zoning designations right here in the PDF, so let's look it up. So we're in we were in Mecklenburg County, right? There we go. R5 single family, 5 units per acre is what it's telling me. Super easy. But Mecklenburg County has a lot of money, right? So they have a nice system. Any questions on that? Does anybody want to see anything else in Polaris, Mecklenburg County?
No, that's pretty neat. That's a lot more efficient than Rowan. Rowan's
Oh,
pretty
Lord,
tough.
yeah. Yeah, Josh brings up a good point. Rowan to me is confusing. And unfortunately, it seems like more counties use that same type of software. That's confusing. I will show you Cabarrus County real quick. This is Claris, Cabarrus County Land Records Information System. Same thing. Search by an address. It's going to give you all kinds of information. So this is our building at 119. I'm going to view the map for it, and then it's going to give me a ton of information over on the left. Zoning jurisdiction is Kannapolis, so I'll know where to go to look up that information. So I'm going to view the, I think I hit the wrong button. This is the property card record. And this is an absolute eye chart. I hate these things, but the zoning is on here somewhere. Or the zoning designation. First one to find it gets a lollipop. I know what it's zoned, but I cannot find it.
Local zoning CC.
Very bottom, yep, local zoning CCs for Kannapolis. CC means Center City. Commercial, yeah. So what does CC? We figured out that Kannapolis regulates it. We figured out that it is CC zoning. So to me, the best thing to do if you're looking is Google. Man, don't ask somebody. Let me rephrase that. Try your best at using Google to find it. Because that's how I found stuff. That's how I learned what I was doing here. If you have trouble, absolutely reach out to one of us, but you're never going to learn any better than doing it on your own. This is the City of Kannapolis website. And so we're going to try to find the zoning designations here. So I know I'm looking at planning and zoning. So I'm going to go over under government departments and then go under planning. Here is the planning website for the city. Interactive zoning map. I see that at the bottom. There is our building. Got all kinds of information there. That doesn't help me at all. What are your frustrations with zoning, or what questions do you have while we're looking through this?
A quick comment on Rowan. They don't do a particularly good job of organizing the information, but if you go to their government site, for example, you can download a PDF that describes all the zoning districts. You can get a zoning map from there that shows the ETFs and all that.
That's good information, Margie. Thank you. I will tell you from my experience, of course, Kannapolis has always been helpful to me. It's the same thing I just looked at. Rowan County, if your parcel is not in Landis, China Grove, Salisbury, and it's out in Rowan County, their department has always been really, really helpful to me if I have questions. So I find out who to ask. I will Google Rowan County Planning Department, and it usually takes me straight to their website and how to contact them. And I will send Aaron Poplin, who's the assistant planning director for the county, a question, and I usually get an answer back within, oh gosh, at least 24 hours. So I would always, if I can't find my answer in here, and this is taking a lot of searching, I'm going to go to department directory and I'm going to find somebody to email. And over to the left, you will see, or the right, you will see emails. So I highly, highly encourage you to email people, get to know these people in the planning departments. I've never ran across one. Now you'll run across some in smaller municipalities, like I think Rockwell, their folks work twice a week. I think it's like 9 to 12, 2 days a week. So you may have some smaller municipalities that may take you a little bit longer to get in answers from, but still get to know them. They can be really, really helpful to you. If you've got an email from them with information, that's material fact, and you can always use that if you ever run across any issues. I will show you, Rochelle. Yeah, you got a question?
Hey, Chris. So I was gonna, I put in the chat for Margaret. What is an ETF?
ETJ, you mean?
Oh, ETJ. I'm sorry, I didn't hear correctly. I just heard ET something.
I think I did say ETF. That's something totally unrelated. My apologies.
Oh, no worries.
Let
didn't
me hold on a second. Let me go back, Rochelle, real quick. Jurisdiction it is, yeah. So it stands for extraterritorial jurisdiction. And here's a map of, make sure, is that right? Nope, that's the overlay map. Hold on. So here's a map of Kannapolis, Rochelle, and this is the dark gray is Kannapolis, but you see the everything in the red circle is also under the I don't want to say rule, but the rules and regulations of the city of Kannapolis, even though they're outside the city limits. So a lot of times developers will go out in these rural areas. Like the area I got highlighted here is at the intersection of 73 and Poplar 10 or Shiloh Church Road. You know, there's a Harris Teeter out there, but the developer can't develop a Harris Teeter shopping center on a septic system, right? Not feasible. So they want to be in the city of Kannapolis jurisdiction, so the city of Kannapolis can provide them with utilities. That's what an ETJ is. That help?
Okay. And what does that stand for?
Extraterritorial jurisdiction.
Okay, perfect. Got it. So they are not part of Kannapolis, but still follow Kannapolis.
And I
rules.
mean, they are part of Kannapolis, but they're not within the contiguous city boundaries, if that makes any sense at all.
Okay. Yeah, because I think like where we are off of Highway 3
Mhm.
and Miller, like you can see the gray goes just there, and we have like 3 homes at
Yeah.
the end of the cul-de-sac that are part of Kannapolis, and they get like a different trash schedule and stuff.
Yeah.
But we're considered Kannapolis, even
Yeah.
though we're not.
Yep, and Paula lives out on Cannon Farm Road, and I don't know if to consider Landis, but she's considered in the ETJ for Kannapolis because we provide, I say we, the city of Kannapolis provides services to them, so.
And you
Chris-
can find this map on the Kannapolis website.
Somewhere, yes. I
Okay.
downloaded this for my pre-licensing class, but I'm not sure where it's at. Hold on and I'll see if we can find it real quick since I'm on there already. I'm not on there.
And if we run across a weird zoning, like, I get like the R5 and all that, but something that we've never seen before, do they have a list of those on their website?
Yes, they do have, and I found it this morning and I don't know where it's at. But I tell you what I would do if you can't find it, email somebody in this department and they will tell you. I had somebody in my office the other day and they asked if we could build a triplex on something zoned R2? I don't have any idea, right? No idea. So I actually text the assistant planning director and asked him and he told me yes or no. But so yeah, build a relationship with these folks and they will be more than willing to help you. You can't find the answers, or they will guide you to where the answers are.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
I would
so much.
encourage you, if you sell a lot in Kannapolis, Concord, Salisbury, go on their website. Everybody has a planning and zoning site. Try to find these answers for yourself. Any other questions? Bear with me 1 second. Let's get back to it. That didn't work. I was program, I guess you would call it that. Uh-oh. Are y'all still there?
Yes.
Raise your hand.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yes.
I just got a notification that Zoom quit. But I guess it did. I was freaking out a little bit. So I'm gonna go to Rowan County real quick, and I'll share it in just a second. But this is the typical. Can y'all see my screen that says Rowan County on it?
I still see the ETJ map.
Gotcha. All right, going back. All right, how about now?
It's the Rowan County tax and
There
map.
we go.
list.
Perfect. All right. All I did is Googled Rowan County GIS. And so I'm gonna go into the mapping tool. Except, all right, this is where you find out your information for Rowan County. I think Stanley County is the same, uses the same software. I believe Davie County does. And I'm not sure about any other surrounding. Maybe Iredale does as well. I'm going to look up property I have that we're building on right now. I don't care about that. Why is that up there? That's weird. I don't know. As long as they can see it. So this is Rowan County jurisdiction. This is parcel. If you see the big blob here that says sold on it, that parcel that I've actually owned. And just go around and play with the different settings. Go around and play with the different, one of the ones that we found out about was flood zones. And that didn't turn on, did it? There it is. Yeah. Did everybody see this flood zone over here to the right?
Yes.
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 Yeah, so that's a good way to find out your flood zones. If you got anybody that's looking to build, this button down here on the left, water supply watersheds, is critical because that regulates how much of the land you can build on. So we've got almost 6 acres here highlighted. And naturally you would think, hey, I can build on 6 acres, but you can't. And that is regulated by what watershed you're in. So unfortunately, where we're located, we're in a critical watershed, or watershed 4, which means we can only build on 36% of our land. You think that's important information that your clients may want to know? Say yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
that's-
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. So again, make sure you know that information. Make sure you know where to find that information.
So how does that look on that particular lot or parcel that you're looking at? Where do you have to save the land to reclaim the water?
So Josh, all that means for us is we can only build on 36% of it, which I believe is just under 2 acres. They don't really care where we build. And actually there's a stream running through here that was not recorded. But we built all the way to the left at the corner of Boston Road and Old Beatty's Ford.
So basically, as long as you don't encapsulate the ground and allow the water to go in, right?
So the way that the guy named Aaron Poplin at county told us is 36% impervious, which means if you can drive on 36% of it, and that's all you can build on, right? So wherever we built, we had to control the water runoff. And that's that's going way down a rabbit hole, but we had to put in a retention pond and all that stuff. But still know what watershed you're in and know what your customers are looking for, or your clients are looking for. Are they looking to build? Hey, I need 5 acres. All right, if you need 5 acres, how much are you going to pave? How much are you going to build on? Because you might need 7 or 8 acres. Right? Those are questions you need to ask up front so you know what you're looking for. Last thing you want to do is get into your client spending a bunch of money on development costs, engineers, architects, blah, blah, blah. And then the county says, you can't build on that. You can't build on that. You got to reduce your footprint.
Chris, can you show me where on this map again, where it showed that 32%?
It doesn't.
Oh, it
Josh.
doesn't.
It doesn't know. And I found this out. I had through my emails. If you see this right here where it says WS4, that's watershed 4. I had to actually call the planning department and ask them what that meant. So watershed 4, and this is a statewide, this is not just Rowan County. So watershed 4 is a critical watershed, meaning it's close to a water supply. So those are definitely information if you've got builders, people looking to build that they may want to know. All right, let's go back real quick. Any questions on where to find your stuff at? You feel like you can find it now? What am I doing here? It's not working. Anybody there? Anybody awake?
Here, present, but no questions.
All
No
right, cool.
questions,
Thank you.
Chris.
Thank you
You
for
know,
that. Make
wide
sure we're
awake
still
on coffee.
So that's a very basic, that's really all I got. That's a very basic look at zoning. And y'all know, I hope you know, if you ever have a zoning question, I will be more than glad to lead you where to go, but I'm probably going to tell you if it's too specific to contact the local or the county or city planning director or the assistant planning director. Again, so you can get that information, you can make that relationship, but you can also get the answer in writing. Get the answer in writing so you can show it to your client and there are no questions. There's no liability there for you anymore.
And Chris, that watershed overlay, that's on the Cabarrus County one as well? Or for
It should be, yes, it should be.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem, guys. If y'all have any, again, if you have any questions, and one thing to remember, Josh pointed out, what does static mean? Static means it's always changing. So don't assume that because an old listing says it's zoned for RM2 or whatever, that it's going to stay that way. Check your maps. Okay. Check with the local planning directors. Never assume. So thank y'all very much. If you have any questions moving forward, let me know.
Hey, Chris, can you send out where it tells what R4 and all that means for Kannapolis? Did you have a
I will
PDF or was that a
look and see
link?
if I can. I'll look and see if I can find it. I've got a book, Rochelle, literally at home that's about 3 inches thick with zoning codes in it for Kannapolis.
Oh,
So
really?
I'll see if I can find a PDF that kind of breaks it down a little bit.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Okay.
All right, y'all have a wonderful day. If you have any questions, let me know.
All right, have a good day.
Thanks, Chris. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have a good
Bye.
day.